Hello, welcome to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be going through how I rig this tarp that's in this bag for quick deployment and how I go about setting it up. So I'm going to go find a couple of trees and get right into it. Stick around. There we go. Seems like a good spot. Nice big tree here, little tree here. They seem like they're about the right distance apart to set this up. So first things first, this is a 4-liter dry bag that the tarp is stored in, and I use a dry bag to store the tarp so that if I need to put it away wet, then doesn't get all of the contents inside my pack wet. So that's a pretty handy thing. Now then, I am going to do this a little bit slower than I normally would if I was setting it up, if I actually needed to quickly deploy this tarp. The way that this is rigged, I can usually set it up in around about a minute. One time I actually got it in 45 seconds. I'm not really sure what I did that one time because I've not been able to do it that fast again. But I can usually go from inside the pack to having the tarp inside the pack to set up all my gear and myself underneath it in about a minute. So it's a relatively quick system here, but I'm going to do it a little bit slower right now so I can show how everything is set up in here. If you look inside the bag there, you can see there is red paracord laying on top that hopefully you can see. There we go, red paracord on top. So pull that out so I can show what we got going on here. Now this is a 7-foot by 7-foot tent footprint from Wise Owl Outfitters. You can get these on Amazon, they're really inexpensive. And tent footprints are usually made from some material that's quite similar to an actual tarp or to a tent. So it's pretty well waterproof. I've never had any issues with it leaking, and I've been using this for a couple of years now, I suppose, and I've used it a fair bit. So this has little tie-out loops and grommets and such on the corners. There's one of these on each of the 4 corners, and on 2 of the corners that are on the same side, right, it's a square. So let's say the 2 top corners, I have lines tied to it just like this. So all this is a length of paracord that is it's about an arm span and a half once it's put on here. But there's a loop just so, and a knot right there. That's just a figure of 8 loop formed to attach it to the corner of the tarp there. I like the figure of 8. If I need to remove this line for some reason to use it for something else, figure of 8 I find to be a lot easier to take off or undo once a significant load has been applied to it than a simple overhand knot. Those tend to bind up pretty good in my experience. But that's tied around there so that I then have 2 lines on each corner, and that makes tarp setup really easy. Basically as easy as tying your shoes. I used to use a ridgeline a lot. I'm sure if you're interested in watching this video, you've probably watched a lot of tarp setup videos, and you may have seen a lot of information on rapid deploy ridgeline systems and things like that. I used to use that, but I transitioned to this, and I think it just is so much easier than using a ridgeline. The downside to it is the trees do need to be closer together, but here where I live in East Tennessee mountains, it's really not that hard to find trees that are close together. So now then, I have this stuffed in the bag so that the first corner comes out just like that, and I'm going to go over here to this large tree, and all I'm going to do, I'm going to put that between my knees to hold it. I'm going to bring this up, run the line around just like that, and tie it off with a shoelace knot. And there we go, that one's done. And if you notice, as I pull it out, there is another corner with another set of lines and I can just drop that bag now, and the tarp doesn't go anywhere. This is really nice when it's windy, because the tarp isn't really going to flap around too much. But I have this little bag tied here on the end with just a quick release slip knot there, and inside this bag there are ground stakes or tent stakes or tarp stakes or whatever you want to call them. And this tarp actually does come with stakes. These are not the stakes that it comes with. I upgraded to some heavier duty ones, but I got that corner tied off. And look at that, that is perfect distance apart. I picked very well. And I'm just going to run that around there just like that. Pull it nice and tight. Another shoelace knot up against this tree. And there we go. Front of the tarp is now secure. And I'm going with a lean-to configuration right now. This also works well with a plow point or a diamond, and if I was going to use that configuration, I would just tie to one tree and stake the other 3 corners down so that I have one suspended corner and 3 corners attached to the ground. So now I'm going to go through, and you can't see them behind the tarp, go through here and just pick out 2 tent stakes right there. Put the bag back in my pocket. So I can get it in my pocket. Just like that. Pull the bag off, stick that in my pocket, find the 2 corners, and I'm going to be hidden behind the tarp for just a minute, but I'll be back. Stick one stake in the grommet, just like that. Stick that in the ground. Over here to the other corner. The other stake with the other in the other grommet. Stake it out right there. There we go. That's pretty well done and set up. I could go move that other corner if I wanted to, just to give a little bit more tension in that direction and kind of pull out the slack a little bit. But it's good enough. I could get under there and stay dry. So there we go. Now it's set up. That wasn't a real quick deployment, but I think you get the point on that. So now I'm going to go around and I'm going to pack it back in the bag, and I'll show you how I do that so that it comes out quickly and easily next time. First thing to do, get over here so I'm for sure in the camera view. First thing to do, take the stakes out of the ground and put them back in the bag. One stake, 2 stakes, putting it away is not nearly as quick as putting it up, but that's okay. Generally, I find that putting a tarp away is not as much of a hurried task. There we go. That's good there. So now, shake that off a little bit to get all the leaves off of it. Now I'll gather up the 2 corners in the back, if I can get a hold of them. I have the 2 corners right there, and I have the bag right here. The 2 corners just get stuffed into the bag. Doesn't need to be real neat, doesn't need to be any specific way, just stuffed in there, just like that. Just get a little bit of that stuffed in there. Not like that, that'll do for now. Now, come over here and untie this side, pull that down, and get out the tent stakes and wrap the lines around the tent stake bag. Real simple slip knot there. You can just pull that, and there we go. So keep that around there. just like that. Pull that nice and tight. Come back over here. I'm going to go ahead and stick that just kind of in the top there a little bit, and then continue stuffing. Just like that. And I'm not real worried about where the line is inside the bag, because as shown previously, once I tap the first corner and walk along, this just feeds out just like that, and there's my corner. I can just pull out the line and go from there. So get this stuffed down in here just like that. Nice and easy, simple process there. Roll that down in there. Go, now I'm to this corner. Just untie that, pull it loose, stuff that corner down in there. Usually get on the ground there and push it down in there real good so it's way down in the bottom of the bag. Make sure I've got plenty of room to roll down the top. And then let's wrap this pair of lines around my hand just so they kind of stay a little bit neat. Just lay that right on top, just like that. And there we go. Just like it was in the beginning, I've got lines laying on top. Easy to grab, tie to the first tree, and go from there. Now, when I am putting this away, I do tend to stuff it into the bag with tarps, ponchos, rain jackets, all that kind of stuff. Things that are treated for water resistance by some means. It is generally best to stuff them rather than to fold them neatly, because here we go, all packed nice and neat. It's usually better to stuff those items into a bag rather than neatly fold them. Repeated folding will stress the fibers and the coating on the material in certain points, and that will decrease the life of that waterproofing or water resistant coating over time, and you may develop leaks along those seams, or those creases I should say, where the material has been folded. By stuffing it in like I did with this, you spread all those creases around a very large area, and you don't necessarily have the same spot being creased over and over and over and over again. So just kind of increases the longevity of the material and the waterproofing or water resistant coating. But yeah, so there we go, that's it. Quick release, or quick deploy tarp setup that I like to use. It's actually very similar to the T60 shelter from Coal Cracker Bushcraft. It's kind of funny though, I actually came up with this idea before that product was released. So, but yeah, really simple, really easy, also quite cheap. This particular tarp that I have in this bag, I want to say is about $15 or $20, something like that, and it does come with ground stakes and just a few feet of paracord. That doesn't really cost very much, and honestly, for this kind of system, you don't even need the good expensive paracord. You can just get cheap paracord from Walmart or Home Depot or wherever, or just cheap cord of any type. Whatever you like that's cheap works perfectly fine, because it doesn't need to support any load. It only needs to be able to tie around trees, and that's it. So cheap, convenient, easy to use, and that's all I've got for that. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it entertaining and informative and useful and all those sorts of things. And if you did, greatly appreciate if you would hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, leave a comment down below. If you've used something similar to this, let me know. Or if you have an alternative to this that you think works really well, let me know about that too. I always like to learn new things. Until next time, oh wait, I have more things to say. Instagram account, that's still going, so I'll have a link down in the description below if you want to check that out. I've got some neat stuff on there, and also I recently went live with a new website. So AmericanWoodlandForestcraft.com is now official. I've got a website and an online store. There's a few things up for sale right now, but I will be adding things as time progresses. Everything in the store is either old or handmade by me, and everything I make one at a time. I don't really do stock items. I like to just make a few things and put them up for sale. So if you see something you like, you might want to grab it, because I don't know how many there are or how long they'll last. But leave a link for that down in the description too, so go check that out. I think there's gonna be some neat stuff coming up on there. But that's all I've got now. I think I'm through talking, so I'm gonna leave it off here. Go forth, enjoy yourself, and always come home safe.